Hello and welcome to TheWrap's virtual Sundance studio. My name is Beatrice Verhoeven, and I'm so excited to talk Cryptozoo today. We have the writer and director Dash Shaw here, animation director Jane Saborski, as well as fabulous cast members like Belle, Louisa Krause, and Grace Zabriskie. Thank you so much for joining me, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I mentioned to you guys earlier, I'm so excited to talk about this movie just because I can't imagine how much time went into this, which we will touch on. But Dash, I wanted to start with you. Where did the idea for the movie come from? Fill us in a little of, what the movie's about for people who haven't seen it, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, it's a zoo. It's about a zoo that rescues and houses mythological creatures, cryptids, and the Cryptozoo keepers are struggling to find a Baku, a legendary dream-eating hybrid creature. It was a combination of things. One is that I love an early animator named Winsor McKay, who did Little Nemo and Slumberland and Gertie the Dinosaur, like 1900s animations. And I saw an unfinished short he did called The Centaurs. That was like elegantly drawn and sophisticated, and the fact that he never made this movie felt like there was something there it made me wonder if he had finished it, what kind of movie that would have been like. And around the same time, Jane ran an all-women's Dungeons and Dragons group in Brooklyn. And so I would have to leave the apartment when a bunch of these came over. And they were like, because it was New York, it was kind of,
we had one room.
It was women from all over the world, And and Jane painted most of the cryptids in the movie. Yeah. So it was writing something that I thought she would enjoy painting and participating in, and yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So Jane, going on to you, tell us the process of this. We talked about how long it took. Please elaborate on that, because this is an incredible story.
We went into the physical production shortly after our daughter was born, about 4 years ago. And, this film, it starts with, traditional media, where we're doing all of the drawing and the painting, like on pencil and paper and gouache on Bristol. And then we're bringing those things into the computer and creating articulated puppets, rigging them so that we can get the breadth of animation, but we aren't doing, say, and then we also, sometimes when we need extra movement, we're playing a more traditional cell animation technique. So it really is like a hybrid approach, and it's also a very collage process. We're building something in, and we send it to the editor, and they want to speed things up, slow things down. We're getting work from so many different artists. Dash is fantastic because he casts the artists the way directors cast.
So my friend Ben, rides a motorcycle and he paints, and so I thought he'd be perfect for painting the motorcycles in the movie, and he can just stuff like that.
In a lot of animation processes, you're talking about a person who has very specialized jobs, whereas we're working with a small team and everybody is a jack of all trades, and we're really trying to bring each vision as fully into the project as we can, and then kind of my job at the end is to bring them all together so they feel cohesive.
Mm-hmm. And it took 4 years, you said?
Yeah, about 4 years from start to finish.
That is insane.
Count Dash's writing and drawing storyboards.
Insane. And Grace, Louisa, and Lake, and maybe you can start because you're the main character. What drew you guys to the project, and how did you get involved? And did you get involved 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, not 5 years ago, but a long time ago. I was thinking about it the first time. Well, first of all, let me just speak to, the project and why, I find myself in this position. I feel very lucky to have been a part of it because I do pretty outwardly love voiceover and love the medium of getting to be anything and exist in multiple dimensions and genres without curbing. It's the most creative medium as an actor because you don't, at least from my point of view, you can be an inanimate object. You could be anything when you're a voice. And so I think that's a very freeing and attractive part of what we do. That said, in reading this, I thought it felt like the beauty and kind of unbridled imagination of these two people coming together in kind of this poetic way as husband and wife, as parents. I find that admirable as well. And I think that, there was something so unusual about it, and that felt really appealing. And then, of course, there's a tremendous sort of social and cultural commentary at the root of it as well. So I felt, that's what attracted to me initially.
Amazing. Louisa?
Yeah, I first met Dash years ago at a Sundance film lab, and I became such a fan of his there. And I had the privilege of being in his last animated film, and it's just any world that this duo creates is just like a world you want to be in, because it's so detailed. It's like layers and layers upon, what comes out of their mind, which is like inspired by such incredible sources. And I have such trust in him, and he's always interested as a director in just real and honest performances. And so, like, in the recording studio, for example, it's not like I don't feel like I'm just in a recording studio. Like, I'm working with props. My character encounters a unicorn in the film, and so I was acting with like a hobby horse. A hobby horse unicorn. But
it was some of the fun stuff to animate, because you were great, and we were actually using ref of her for the animation in a way that we didn't get to do with all the other actors, and it was so amazing as an artist to get to work with that.
Oh my god. Yeah, well, thank you guys. I mean, it's just you're in good hands when you're amongst this team. So I'm just thrilled to be here helping represent the movie.
Amazing. And Grace, what about you?
Well, I was struck by the concept of being able to be anybody, if it's just your voice. And I hadn't really thought of it that way, but yeah, that's one of the things I love about it as well, I think, yeah. And I loved so much about it. I mean, I loved just how much I, anyway, felt that if I just became a little bit more didactic in my thinking, and a little more precise about, which I'm not really doing it right now, am I? But it really made me feel very much, that character, or what I came up as my version of that character, and it was really fun. And there was something about having the freedom of it just being my voice. At least, at that time, I didn't know what I would look like. My rendered character, I didn't know what that would look like. So I guess all I had was who I am, and then I guess it was up to them to figure out some way to match that on some level, make it work with my voice. They wanted me to do it all over again, which I guess they didn't.
It was really, really fun to none of the character designs are like directly look like the actors, but I tried to take some kind of sideways inspiration, or some kind of, like, there's moments I think in the movie where you're like, oh, that's Grace, like, and something like shooting out of her eyes. That was really, really, I
love what you did with her visually. I loved it.
So much fun to draw.
Was there any part of the animation that was extremely difficult to execute? Was there one scene or one, part of it that just took a little more effort?
It's such a layered process. And we're doing kind of scenes, not as that is a great question. What sticks out in my mind is the action sequences were really tricky, just to make those feel punchy, because we're working with a technique that has kind of a stilted stillness to it, which is something that Dash and I both find really interesting, that like tension between realistic movement and this truly unrealistic art form.
I think what a good example is coming up with the eyes.
Yeah, that came in fairly early in the process because we knew we didn't want the jittery, crazy line that we had in High School Sinking, but that it's called a boil in animation terms, where that line is like just jittering. It does a lot.
It kind of overpowers it. On that cartoon, I thought it overpowered too much, and I wanted to make more specific kind of realistic paintings. But if you have a still painting like of Lake's character, it'll feel dead.
Yeah,
so,
and something anime does a lot is they just have a little bit of a eyes and
light catching the eyes.
Yeah, and so we wanted to give that same kind of life to the characters, and so we did just simple replacement animation with having a whole bunch of painted irises that cycle through, and that was a huge breakthrough for making all the characters feel so much more alive.
I do have to give a shout out to you guys. I mean, I can't draw at all, so take this with a grain of salt, but I think drawing people, obviously it's very difficult, but also landscape. And there was one scene at the very end, the river.
So yes.
It was just it looked like a painting, and I just remember seeing it and I was just so struck by it. So I wanted to give you guys credit for that. It was just so beautifully done.
That's the credit to Sophie Franz, the painter who did that. She painted a lot of that. It's great. I mean, we kind of cast different artists all over the country that I know someone will paint. So we're the home base of what the paintings go through.
Yeah, it's interesting that it all still feels cohesive. If there's so many different people working on it, but it still worked together. And
that's a combination of Dash's art direction, and then I go through a process where I'll just spend weeks just like, all right, how do I make all of these elements feel right together in a scene, and then also that scene feel right with the next scene.
And the same thing is true with the actors, where sometimes they're recorded opposite people where they haven't been recorded yet, or they're going opposite me, so it's being collaged together. And then when we have both of the performances in, we're changing the timing and being like, we got to ask Lake to do this thing again because now she's walking while she does it. And it's like, it's a collage together film in kind of every single way.
Yeah, and I don't know of any other team that's doing a process like ours.
Yeah.
You take traditional film and you're doing the vast majority of your shooting, and then the editor is just working with that. It's not like they can speed up or slow it down if they want to, but our editor can. And we have this incredible freedom because we're such a small, nimble team to just, if we need something we don't have, we can get it. And that's just, it leaves all this wonderful room for experimentation that I think really is what is special about this project.
Yeah. And Lake, Louise, and Grace, what were some challenges for you? I always think that voicing a character is more difficult than it seems to be, especially like just hitting all those marks and the nuances. So I just wanted to, see what you guys thought was a really challenging aspect of this.
I mean, I'll just chime in. I think that, given the subject matter is so fantastical, you have to, and Dash really wanted performance that was grounded and, measured, quiet, and, thoughtful, which is more in line with, how it would be in a more cinematic sort of job, and erecting a character that feels fully realized, but you can only use your voice, but you're not, it's like I do a lot of voiceover where it's just kind of, you're improvising bits and things like that, and this was a different kind of challenge to be hyper realistic in a utterly fantastical landscape, and so I think that always is a challenge where you just want to, like you were saying, Lisa, it's like I didn't have props per se, but I do, like if I have to run, like I do that physically, or if I have to like be physical. I use my body to inform my breath and to inform my sound. And if I have to be emotional, then I find myself alone in that booth doing that and just crying and whatnot. But I think that there's something really cathartic about it. No one's looking at you. You can wear sweatpants while you do it, and no hair and makeup, so that works. It's always a great gig in that way.
So everyone's pandemic uniform.
Yeah, pandemic uniform. I am wearing sweatpants with this taffeta top. But I think that ultimately that the kind of, I remember getting in the booth for the first time and I was like, so just give me some context once again with this scene, if we could, and he's like, well, and then enter Dash with the most kind of complicated, beautiful, wild, wonderful, sparkly, you Dash too. There's no joking, you're just you just lay out.
I'm not a funny person, yeah.
Which is he's hysterical and goofy, and everyone else is just this deadpan. And I'm like, well,
I just appreciated, I just would have loved a lot of your directions. If we could just play the tape of you giving direction about these super esoteric, scenes that are occurring. And I'm like, all right, man, here we go. Just
boy with his face is in his stomach.
Yeah, his face. So his face is in his stomach.
Yeah.
But he's cute, and I'm trying to help him out. Okay, here we go.
Amazing.
So that part of it is always fun. And, and also just, it makes your job kind of exciting. I think the coolest part of Sundance too, being, we've all been to Sundance, and I think, this is such a beautiful project to be in that company, because it is about imagination. It's about, bringing your wildest, most esoteric dreams to the screen and letting them, flourish and be seen. And, it's like the camaraderie of that is forever something that I hold dear. And so I'm just happy that this movie is here, that Cryptozoo gets to be a part of that canon.
In some ways, I'm glad I had absolutely no idea, how the film would really look, because I was so intimidated by the fact that this is amazing, completely successful melding of so many different things, absolute realism, even, down to nitty gritty realism when it comes to my love scene, for example. You see, fable. It goes on and on. I was making a list a while ago of all the different, sort of genres you could name, that are all kind of involved, but which does not ever find you thinking, oh, well, I thought it was this, but it's that. But it's not that way. Everything is merged into a whole that really is something new under the sun, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a great way to say it.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. And I'm so happy to have seen the film, and congratulations on finishing it 4 years later, and also having it play at Sundance. What a feat. So congratulations. And thank you so much again. It was a pleasure speaking to you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.